I think we got everybody. We'll go ahead and call Marshall County Fiscal Court to order, July 21st, 2020. Justin, you want to pray for us?
Be glad to. Most gracious and heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day you've given us, Lord. We thank you for the blessing of living in the greatest country on the face of the earth, Lord. We ask that you be with our nation's leaders, our nation's police. Lord, be with our soldiers. God, we ask that you be with this body as we make the county's decisions, Lord. Lead, guide, and direct us in all that we do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glasses on here. Good morning, gentlemen. I see we got some folks from the Johnson Creek Water Board. Y'all are first on the agenda. Y'all want to come up to the podium? So that's where our audio is. That way we'll be able to hear.
Good morning.
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 Okay.
Jeff O'Brien, Chairman of the Johnson Creek Board of Commissioners. We had a proposal through the judge and through Justin that there was some monies available through some bonds. I don't know all the details, so I'll let y'all talk through that. We brought some proposals of some projects here within the county in the Brewers area, primarily to expand our water to people in need out there, to make some needed loops in our system to help feed water, keep pressure up. David can explain most of that, but maybe you can explain a little bit more about these funds that are available and let the people know.
Well, there was bond money. Judge Neal could probably explain it better than I could. $500,000 was set aside for Johnson Creek Water. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And then there was another additional $735,000 that we didn't use on the sewer project. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, and I'm looking. Which one is this? The combination of the 1.3? Is that what I'm looking at here?
Have y'all got copies of all that?
Yeah.
It's a combo?
We've got it and broke down in two separate. We've got the 500,000 broke down in a project. Actually, each one of them are individual projects, and we took the proposal then for the 735 is on the next page, and we could spend 4 times that amount easily on projects that we come up with that are needed. And
So, but these are two different, right? Because I'm not seeing, unless it looks to me like it's 1.3 plus the 550, right? Is that right?
Well, the 1.3, that is projects that we come up with that are severely needed. Of course, that way exceeds the $735,000
Yeah,
budget
okay.
that y'all got out there. But we didn't put them in no particular order, but we seen that we found need for that to tie everybody together. And one of the, in that particular order, one of the last things we come up with, and I don't know enough details about this to explain it for sure, but when they hooked up, they went down US, the 58 Highway West to the Benton Wood Products, the stave mill. You know, Benton went out there. Now, we looked at doing all of Wadesboro, Jackson School, and come back down 58 from the Y back to the stave mill in the future. And that might allow us to hook into the city of Benton and Johnson Creek, and we hook together, like we're attempting to do at Hardin over here right now. So everybody, we're already hooked to North Marshall. So everybody, if somebody needs water, we can be able to, if we're broke down or.
And that's good for all them districts.
Absolutely, it's good to all be tied together.
Is that metered in any way other than the individual meters as far as if we had to implement that as far as from the various companies?
When we tie together, we are metered to one of these other districts, so we would actually buy water.
Gotcha.
Or sell water by whoever needs it, you know. If, we've been looking at hooking to Hardin, because if they have a downfall, they are the customer of City of Benton, but it's an emergency backup. If they need water, we'll have a meter, and all we'll have to do is turn the valve on, and they've got water right out here, right outside of Hardin by the Wadesboro Road. And we'd like to do that with Benton in the future and hook plumb back around off of 58 Highway. You know, that could be 5 years down the road, but it would be keep the whole system tied together, the whole county. Then if we need help somewhere or somebody else needs help, we can provide that.
This
And-
project gets water to several residents that need it throughout the county.
Yes, yes. There's probably 100 to 200 potential new customers in some of this layout that we done here where there is no water in this county right now.
That's what I was going to ask is the number, I know we'd talked about it last month, or maybe last meeting, when we had Chad in here from Rivercrest talking to us about West Marshall, is that they had done a study to figure out, you know, just how many people were going to be able to tie on to that as far as figuring out cost-wise, okay, does this make sense or not? I guess.
Several of these projects here is to loop our water lines and tie them back together so we can feed towers and feed if we have a breakdown somewhere where we minimize the amount of people that we've got out of water for any
You
short
gotta
period
get
of
that
time.
main artery before you can start shooting off. and getting
Right,
these
we gotta get the main artery, and every time we make a loop, that builds pressure, then that keeps people from being out of water versus a dead-end line somewhere. We would love to have some help, because it's like anybody else, we're financially not very sound when it comes to repairing to what it costs.
Yeah.
Have these extensions or repairs or whatever been engineered or bid out or
Part
what?
of them has, yes, yes. Yes, this was engineered during this, Water View 2020, what was it?
Water Vision 2020, we're
Vision
supposed to have
2020.
water by
There's
the
probably
year
nobody
2020.
here now that knows much about that, but by this time,
Got 6
from
months to go.
20 years ago, we were supposed to, every road in this county was supposed to have had water, but that's not the case. We're
Yeah.
not even close.
Yeah.
So we would like to help do our part, but we've got to have some help, and if the Fiscal Court could help us, it would be much appreciated.
I think it's a good project. It's something that needs to be done. I don't think there's anything more important than getting water to the people in this county that need it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I know on the first page, the repair and replace existing lines, I know that's
We-
that's
We've got,
important.
We've got some 50-plus-year-old lines in our system here that pop just every few days, and it would be much cheaper to replace them than to keep repairing them.
Right.
And that's,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
And that helps you getting approval for future projects too, getting your water loss down.
Right,
too.
right. We have a pretty good water loss now because we've got a lot of leaks that we can't find, because most likely what we're seeing is just tons of small leaks that adds up to a lot of volume over a month's time.
Right.
And, of course, the PSC regulates our water loss, and it has been a little high, and I'm surprised we've not heard from them, but we're doing our best to find these and fix them when we can.
I know the court did, in the bonds, we set aside $500,000 of the bonds for Jonathan Creek for water projects, and that could be either line extensions or repairs. So on this first page, it's $550 to do some repair and replace existing lines and expansion and line upgrades. And then on the back side, we've got 1.3 of that. We've got some of those bond monies that, with the sewer expansion in Draftonville, we had, I think it was 1.8 million that we went to get the bonds for sewer project there. The court chose I think it was less than 800,000, 700 and something thousand sewer project. So there are some bond monies there. And after talking with Chris, I mean, we did get some grants awarded for 911, and the big grant, we'll know in a couple of months if we got awarded on that. That basically is going to free up some bond monies. And those bonds, I know Jason had wrote in general form or general language as far as what those dollars can be used for, and obviously this fits. So it is something that, we can do.
Okay.
The timeline, I think, right now we got $500,000 in bonds that we did secure, so we could get more in detail as far as which projects are either a priority for the district or ready to go. We
I
can
guess-
talk more in detail on that.
So question for you, because I mean, now hearing it and I'd like to see a little bit more about the second page
Okay.
stuff, but would it be possible to at least address the 549 with what we've already put out there? I mean, you're talking about taking an extra 50 from that on top of the
Well,
500?
These are all very estimated costs.
Oh, okay.
And they're gonna fluctuate some, and what we looked at doing is we would start, if we had this money, we would pick the most needed from the top and work our
Okay.
way down and hope to complete the majority of it.
Okay.
As
Right.
things as we buy PVC pipe and whatnot, it fluctuates with petroleum prices, so.
Yeah,
It had been cheap a few months ago when petroleum was down, so we actually bought some pipe for some projects. But as oil goes up, PVC pipe, and that makes a big difference when you're looking at 20, 30,000 feet of pipe, on a
Yeah.
project. When you look at another $1 a foot just for the pipe at times.
Will you all be doing any of this, or will this be put out for bid, or what?
This will be, a lot of this will be in-house, but fortunately, there's a lot of it we can't do that we'll have to have some outside source with. And will we actually bid it totally out? We might bid out some labor on it, because there's a local crew here that can come in and help us if we bid it out and do the things that we can't do. Like push some steel casing pipes and welding, going under these state roads and whatnot. There's some things that we can't do, but we can do the majority of it. And we've got a crew to do this, but we're kindly slow about doing it because we got so many other things we have to keep in line too. So we get a few days here and a few days there to work on these projects. We're in the middle of a project out on Slickback right now that we're gonna get finished up soon, I hope. But
out there the other day when I dropped my dog.
any bit of help, I mean, this is part of what our needs is, and any kind of help would be appreciated. And if there's anything else, any more questions?
Do you have a timeline, a rough timeline on this first page here?
Maybe David can answer that.
Well, you're out on Slickback now? Yeah, so finish up Slickback and start,
We'll probably be done with Slickback within 2 weeks,
okay.
so we'd be free to start then.
And y'all have done a good job on Slickback. I mean, for y'all to work when you can, y'all have really come along with that project. As soon as y'all got the materials and got ready to get out there, y'all have done a good job.
Yeah, we're averaging about 600-700 foot a day. So.
Yeah.
We've been gaining we're right at the 2,500 mark of customers on Johnson Creek Water right now. We've been gaining about 50 a year, probably about one a week in a sense, so we're growing, and we're trying to make people happy.
And I want to brag on y'all too, because 5, 6 years ago, Johnson Creek Water had a bad reputation, and they earned every bit of it. But y'all have really turned that place around, getting good board members out there. I mean, y'all have done a good job.
We had to turn it around because we did have some bad water and some issues, but we've got that corrected now.
Yes,
Got that correct. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got, obviously, the bond monies available for these projects. And if the court wants, we can sit down with Jonathan Creek to go more in detail on which projects would have to be bid out and
Yeah.
things of that nature. Going into the next page, I do think that we can help. We'll get into Southwest One update here in a second. We did anticipate some soft ground when they were building the school. We knew that there was some soft ground out at the site, and we've hit that on the 641, which there's going to be some extra dollars we'll pull from the bond monies. So, but I do think that we can help with this
Absolutely.
second page as well.
How much have y'all bid out in the past, generally?
Just help with these road bores where they got to be steel cased, where we not got the equipment to weld and push these big pipe through this case. Basically, Dave.
But most of it that y'all do in-house, don't you? Most of it.
So if the court wants, we can, wants me to get with them to get more details on the
Yeah.
projects and the timelines, and I know we've been using Rivercrest Engineering for parts of it that need to be engineered. But if the court wants me to do that, I don't know if that's an action item. Is that an action item, Jason?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I move that we have the judge get with Johnson Creek Water, figure out a path forward to get this $500,000 to them so they can get water the folks need it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
What about the second page? Are we gonna table that for now, or we'll talk with them about that too?
Yeah, we can start discussion on the second page. As the Southwest One, they're moving along pretty quick on that project. But as that project closes, we'll have a more exact dollar amount. And we can get, looks like there's 6 items on that page. We can discuss that as well. All right. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Next on their guests is Ricky Powell here. Ricky, good morning, sir. And we're going to be talking about Oak Level Cemetery Road. How are you doing?
Well, I'm with Oak Level United Methodist Church, and we're wanting to blacktop our parking lot. And like you say, we got a road runs through it, and we're wanting to get permission from y'all to blacktop this road.
I know that's in your district, Kevin.
It is. I went out and looked at it with him.
I know you went out and looked at it. I think you did too,
Yep.
Justin. Monty, I don't know if you did too.
Yeah, I went out there.
Okay. This is a unique situation. We have a county road, and we went back and we tried to find minutes when it involves our cemetery roads, and we really don't have that many minutes. The only one I think is that could be found was May 1st of 2012, And it's just in the minutes stated that some time ago, the county accepted all cemetery roads into the county road maintenance system. I think the intent for the county, for the fiscal court, was to make sure that folks had access to our cemeteries, because we have some cemeteries that are like the church. I think you're going to pull that imagery up. But then we have also cemeteries out in the county that are out in somebody's property, and then trying to get access to it. A loved one may not be able to get access to the cemetery. So I think the court's intention was to make sure that the folks in the community can get access to cemeteries. But this is an actual county road, and as you can see, it goes through the parking lot in between the church building, and it looks like
That's Fellowship Hall.
Fellowship Hall, and there's an awning that goes over the county road. Obviously, the church is ready to pave their parking lot, and I know when y'all went out there, you identified it would, by paving the parking lot, that section of the county road would be less than the paved portion. That would be higher, which would cause a water issue. So we've identified 5 churches that fall into this similar situation where, and again, I feel that the intent of the court was to get access to the cemetery. As you can see, coming off of A-Rant, the cemetery is on that side of the church, behind the church. Some of our other locations throughout the county that we identified, the road is actually going through the parking lot to get to the church. And that poses problems that we have to, that's why we're here today to discuss this. In some cases, if the county were to want to maintain the county road, like for an example, there's another church where you have to come off of the main highway, pass through the parking lot to get to the rest of the road to go to the cemetery. The church has paved their parking lot, which has actually got a portion of it on our records as a county road. If we were to take heavy equipment to get back there to repair and maintain the road, we could damage the parking lot. So there's a whole host of things that we've identified in good faith trying to get a road to a cemetery has turned into now where churches expand, and we have buildings that are sitting right on the side of the right-of-way. I don't even know if that really is a right-of-way. So how does our road department maintain our county roads? So I reached out to the District 1 and the State Transportation Cabinet, because we're talking 120 counties. We're not the only county that is having these types of discussions when they come up. So, they suggested an agreement. That was their minimum thing, is that there's an agreement if the church is to pave our county road, that it's to our standard. And I think the problem with that is that we've already have some other roads that are similar to this. I wouldn't say it's a problem. I would say it's for discussion, because some of the churches have already done what you're requesting. So we've kind of got a unique situation here where it is an asset. It's a county road is a county asset, and we have to maintain that asset. Talking with Roy, one of the questions that was brought to me was the section coming off of A-Rant. If you come off A-Rant Road and you come up to where that first tree is, that kind of starts where the parking lot is, to take that section and keep that in the county maintenance, and then from the parking lot back to the 1449 where the structures are, take that section out of the county maintenance, so that the church, basically the property would end up back to the church. And then that way you wouldn't have to come to the fiscal court and do an agreement or ask permission to pave the parking lot. And then we don't have the structural issues, but we still have the intent, which is access to the cemetery. But is that something that the court would like to discuss, or Mr. Powell, is that something that the church would entertain or discuss?
I guess, but the difference in the pavement there at them trees, I think would be a safety hazard for elderly people coming to the cemetery if it's not paved all the way from road to road. Stop paving at the trees there, at the end of the parking lot.
Well, the maintenance. The maintenance of the county road would stop at the edge of the parking lot.
Yeah, okay.
Now, if the church wanted to go into an agreement with the county to pave that county road portion, then we can do up an agreement. Does that make sense?
Donnie?
So, I mean, I think the church is willing to pave that whole
We're just gonna pave the
whole thing.
road to road.
Our concern is really from the tree back towards the building structure, because having a county road with a building that sits on the right-of-way with a crosswalk, there's an overhang, we really can't, for the road department to go out and negotiate that, if we tear up something, then it's going to be tearing up the church property.
So if I'm understanding this,
Yeah.
the county's gonna maintain from A-Rant to that tree. From the tree back to Wadesboro Road is gonna be the responsibility of the church. We're gonna give that to the church. But when we pave, we can go into an agreement where it's all one pavement. Is that
Yeah,
what I'm
yes.
getting at?
Yeah, because they want to pave the entire section. So we can do an agreement where the section from the tree back to A-Rand is county road. If we were to pave that, we could do an agreement where the church can pave that.
Pave it at the same time, so there's no lip.
Paving at the same time. Are y'all good with that?
We pay for our part, they pay for their part.
We can do it that way. We can do it however we want to draft up the agreement, yeah. What it does is it takes, the main concern for the county is obviously the church has grown. We've got a awning, or I guess you call it a walkway, across the county road. And for the road department to, we don't have any other county roads that have, we've got one other church that is somewhat similar with the buildings, but not an awning over the county road. So the road department would rather just not deal with, if you actually, does that got street view on it? The buildings are right on the road, and if we were to tear something up, we're going to be tearing up property, or if we were to do something, we're going to be causing, we don't want to cause a potential water issue on the fellowship building, if that makes sense. Yeah. So,
Question to you, have y'all always maintained that entire piece of the road, or have we maintained it in the past?
That's something I
Do you
can't
know?
tell you.
I can't recall ever being on that road.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm assuming we have, but don't hold me to that.
but there's
Yeah.
nothing that's ever needed to be done, I guess, anyway. They've just always paved.
Now, the plow trucks can go under that current awning, the
I didn't measure the height of it, a pickup should be.
yeah, that's what I was referring to. So that,
But that would be, in what he's talking about though, that piece of it would be theirs to
Right.
maintain. We would only maintain and plow if we plowed.
Access to the cemetery, yeah.
From A-Rant Road to the.
From
A-Rant.
A-Rant Road to
Yeah.
that tree, yeah.
Paving
And-
would be done at the same time, so it's all the same.
Yes, we can draft up an agreement, we can have the county attorney draft up an agreement where if the church is gonna pave the entire road access, parking lot, then that can be done.
Do we have to do a road closure for that?
They need to do it, just for procedure.
Yes.
Following procedure, they need to do a petition to discontinue. And it would be, somebody's got to measure the points.
How long
Now-
is that going to take? I knew they were on a timeline on this.
If I'm not mistaken, the fiscal court can initiate that, yeah. So we can initiate that, so that way they don't have to.
But would, okay, do they need to take that back to their trustees first before we do, or whatever, first? Or do y'all have the ability to approve that agreement on your own? Okay,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't,
So I think we could set a public hearing today to meet the,
Yeah, and there's some posting requirements by the state.
oh, okay. So
yeah,
y'all
the
have time
advertisement and
to,
stuff, yeah. So we can
so
start
they'd have
that.
time to
Yes.
discuss it and make sure that.
Yes. And I think that would make both parties, and, the church is going to get what they need to do the paving, and then the county, we're protecting our asset, and,
And we'll have it with the amount of feet
yes.
back to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Not just the tree that could be gone tomorrow.
Should be like the county will have 153 feet, and then the church would have 257 feet.
Yeah.
To maintain. Yeah, okay.
What about the culvert extension on A-Rant when, was that there?
That's something that we can actually, I know Roy had brought that up. That's something that he can do, and it's in his budget, so we can make that. Do you want to explain what you explained to me?
The entrance off of A-Rant Road is pretty narrow, so.
Can you blow that up, Brad, please, just so they can see? It's curved, sorry to interrupt you, Roy. It's curved back toward Wadesboro, but you can see on the far side over there, there's not a good enough turning radius and cars are dropping off.
Where are you talking about, right here?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the top side of the cemeteries.
We'll just make that culvert probably about 30 foot, and make it where you can pull in from either direction a little easier.
Yeah.
Are you all good with that, Mr. Powell, on that basically it would be closing the road going through the church property?
So you said 153 feet from A-Rant would be ours, and then 250.
Yeah, I just
something like
drove it, that puts it about that tree where the parking lot starts. It's approximately 153 feet,
Gotcha.
and then from the tree out, it's 257.
257 from the tree to A-Rant, is that what you're saying? Or 150?
No, the other way.
153 from the tree to A.
Yeah.
Jason, what kind of time frame are we looking at on being able to give them an answer on this?
I mean, you can tentatively vote to do this today. We just have to do our posting and advertisement, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead and vote today.
Yeah.
I'd go ahead, that way they.
You can vote to do the agreement
Okay.
on as far as the paving. Now, so you've really got two separate issues.
Yeah.
One is discontinuing and one is the pavement agreement.
So we could go ahead and do the paving portion of it
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do we can vote to have the county attorney draft an agreement, and then we can vote to have the court start the process for the taking that portion of the county road out of the county maintenance system. And then that way we can advertise and meet that statute.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those, okay, so that's with the first one that we do, the county attorney do an agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And then the second motion would be for the court to go ahead and start the process of taking out that section of the road out of the county maintenance system. And that's through our resolution, road resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the process on that is we meet in 2 weeks, but we'll advertise, we'll go through the process, and I would say that they could go ahead and, once we get the contract drafted, we can get it to the church, they can sign their portion, and then.
Because they're the only ones that own
That's right.
property, so they'd be the only ones, you'd be the only ones that could say, we don't want to do that, so.
Correct. Yeah.
Essentially.
So we can get that signed, and y'all can start on the paving
I'll need a heads up on.
for the
Casey
work.
Culvert. Yeah, I need to get it.
You can do that tomorrow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who would sign on behalf of the church? Would it be you? Both of y'all?
How many do you need to sign?
Well, I just need somebody with authority to sign the agreement. You have a board of trustees, is that how you?
And I'll just sign it.
Okay, well, what are y'all's status with the church?
It's a small church, and we're just up here for the church.
Well, do you
I
have
think
do you have a governing body or anything like that, or a board of trustees, or who makes decisions on, do you vote as a,
Right now, the whole church does.
okay, have they voted to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of like at Olive. We're a small Methodist church too. We have a board of trustees, but the whole body votes on it, and then they set aside somebody to come like these two.
Speak on their behalf.
Well, just one signature will be enough, so I'll just put you on there.
Yeah.
Jason, do they need to vote again as a church body on the closure?
Well, there'll be a public hearing
Okay.
set, and so if they don't come to oppose the closure, then, that takes care of that. They can, if they want to go ahead and vote, they can. But that official action will be at the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or they could send something in writing, send a request. Yeah.
One other action, so that we meet the statute. I'm going to appoint Casey and Brad, Casey Counts and Brad, along with Roy. Per the statute, the road reviewers have to go out and look at the road. So I just need court's approval on those two appointments on the road. review.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I think that meets all the statutory requirements.
I talked to the contractor the other day, and depending on today, he told me he could do it in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
That's gonna be paving all the way to A-Red, right?
So how much time do you need to do the culvert?
Well, I can do it within next week. But the longer that sets, the better it would be for compaction. We can compact it. There's always that possibility of the entrance settling.
I tell him, the church was wanting it blacktop, and I asked him how long, or how quick he could do it, and he told me within 2 to 3 weeks, but if you need it longer, I'll just tell him.
How long do you think it needs
who's
to
doing
sit?
it? Who's doing it? Who's doing the paving?
Davenport paving out of Paducah, or Long Oak.
I think 3 weeks would be fine. That way we'll pack it, get some rains on it. I can get it changed out by Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. Is that enough time? Okay,
But, I mean, I don't want it to mess up, you know.
yeah,
So I'm understanding that y'all are gonna pay for from the tree to they ran, and we pay for the rest of it.
correct,
And, we're gonna do it at the time, all the payment.
correct. And, and I've got your number, that way Jason can get a hold of you. That way, any signatures, he's pretty quick about knocking out an agreement.
Yeah, I'll probably do that today.
Okay,
And if something comes up that you need more time, just let me know.
okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Powell, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. On the, we've got some other situations that are somewhat similar. We're gonna look into it a little bit more in detail. We may bring back some other situations. I'm gonna reach out to those locations. The biggest intent, I believe, was to get access to those cemeteries. And
Yeah, and I think, you may be thinking the same thing I am. Years ago, and this was back when David Buckingham was circuit judge, I believe he entered an order taking in or recognizing those access roads to the cemeteries that were out in the county. I don't think it affected anything in Calvert or Benton or Hardin, but out in the county, I think he recognized those as, I think we've got a circuit court order to that effect somewhere.
I
It
don't
says
think it
it's-
was a
it's
fiscal
a-
court action. I think it come from he was district judge or circuit judge.
Circuit, yeah.
Recognizing them as county roads.
Yeah, but the access to the cemetery, and I think that's where the question is. What is access to the cemetery? And in this case, we've got access to the cemetery. The other section really puts us in a unique situation where we have buildings along the road and awnings over the top. And I think we found 5 situations where we can get access to the cemetery, but there's some scenarios where the road actually goes through the property, and some of the churches have already paved over it, causing the same scenario that we're trying to eliminate. And then if we go in and try to repair or maintain the road, we're going to tear up their property, which is actually our property. So it's kind of a unique situation. Now, I think for the road department to help them out, identify what section is the county road so that they know. And then we've got some that times have changed, properties, churches. We got one church that has been completely sold. We got a fire station that's there, and there's access to the cemetery, and there's a road identified in the parking lot, which really is, I mean, it's not a road, and you do have access to the cemetery, and it can be confusing.
It's kind of like Horn Cemetery out at Olive, when the county took it in. The county maintains it, and when they come put blacktop on it, well, they just blacktop my granddad's driveway, which his house sits in front of the cemetery. And for years, it's always been a dispute. Well, his driveway is now, they consider it county property, but it's actually his driveway, so that's another incident that we've had out in Olive.
And mapping issues, I mean, we don't think about it at times, but our roads with our addresses, when we have an emergency, how that is translated into our 911 center and the mapping so that the proper, authorities that respond, it is what it is, but I'll take a more in-depth look at these, and I'll work with Roy on this, but we'll bring this back to the court for further discussion on how we want to meet, the judge's directive, but also make sure we're not compromising our assets.
One of the situations that developed years ago was by opening up a cemetery, there was opposition to it because people who lived in remote areas with nobody else around, all of a sudden we're gonna have a road into a cemetery that people could go into any hour of the day. And that's where that was the opposition to it. So either unfairly or unfairly, that's what happened in some instances.
And one instance out in Brewers, Fields McGregor had, when he was on magistrate on the court, he had a cemetery on his land, and he wanted to stop people going back there at all hours of the night. Like Lloyd said, it was a big issue.
All right, we'll go on to correspondence. Item A, June personnel changes.
June 2020 personnel changes, John Townsend, E911 dispatcher, termed 6/14/20. That was a voluntary termination. The second one, Caitlin Bryson, she actually, since this was put into effect, she declined the position, so she was not hired, which we'll discuss again later in new business. So that one's, you can disregard that one.
We'll move on to item B on the correspondence. Southwest One update. I forwarded the court the information from BFW, so this is just for your review and knowledge. Once the actual work is completed and the quantities that are identified, we'll have an exact dollar amount, but this gives you an idea of where they hit the soft soil, and they've had to do a lot more work on that areas or those areas on that project. So we anticipate that that's going to be coming in probably the next meeting or two, and but that's just to update you on what a potential cost will be. And it's about, they're estimating it at about $31,562.40, but that's subject to change. Under old business, approve the minutes of July 7th.
We approve.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, ordinance 2020-06, Administrative Code, second reading.
It's a summary of the ordinance 2019, or amending 2019-08, ordinance number 2020-06. So in section 2.5, we just removed all the and/or a county administrator since we don't have one. Section 5.1, we included assistant treasurer as an exempt employee. Section 5.5, again, we removed county administrator. Section 5.3A, we removed earned paid leave time, including sick, vacation, and holiday, shall be considered in earned hours in relation to overtime pay. This is the second reading of ordinance 2020-06.
Move we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Judge, before
Yeah.
we go on to the next one, Anita reminded me that we could probably go ahead and set that public hearing date and time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anita, for.
Yes. Thank you, Anita. Let's see, our next court meeting, if we wanted to use August 4th, we typically do our fiscal court meeting. We can set it at 10 a.m. on the 4th, if that's fine with everybody. All right. So 10 a.m. on August 4th, we'll have the public hearing regarding Oak Level Cemetery Road. Good catch. Old business, item C, facility and grounds policy. The one change, the veteran support group, they met and discussed the Veterans Plaza. The board voted to actually be that representing body for this policy. They're already conducting the services on the Veterans Plaza, so they don't have a problem presenting annually to the court. I think right now we present it to the park so that the parks know what's going on, and I think there's 10 or 11 events that they have, but they would put themselves in that position to be the governing body to facilitate this policy. That's the only change that I know of.
And just to be clear, they would make recommendations, but
Yes.
ultimately the decision rides with the court. So-
Correct.
Question for you that I hadn't really thought about that day. So signage at the park would, based on the way that this is written, would any signage at the park have to go through fiscal court? So i.e., well, any signage that so like I know she allows, say if someone's having an event there or something, she'll allow maybe someone to put up a sign that says something about that event, or I know obviously within this, we're approving anything that's out there currently, so any sponsorship sign that she has already will be approved through this, but I guess my question would be, what about sponsorship signs?
And that's a good question. I think the intent of the court, for an example, we show up to work every day and there's signs placed out on the county grounds that either the parks director or nobody in my office, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Since it is a public grounds, but there's really never been any guidelines as far as what can be put on the grounds. So trying to make sure that something doesn't get put on the county grounds, the intent was that this policy kind of curtail that and make it somewhat, certain things can or certain practices are accepted, and it has to come to the court. So
That's
what?
the intent, but the road to hell's paved with good intentions too.
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
So she would need to, if there's going to be a new sign put up out at the park, she would need to bring that to us for approval.
I don't think that's the intent. If it's a sponsorship sign, and I think that if we need to
Do we need to, yeah, can we?
put that in there,
I
because
don't want to put the park in the position. I understand why we're
Sure.
doing it, obviously.
I was just checking to make sure. If you look at 3, it says all signs and/or displays other than those owned and/or approved by the county.
Yeah, but the county, we've established through this as a fiscal court. So approved by the county, if you go to the very first line there, the Marshall County Fiscal Court, the county, the other way.
You're telling me to go which way?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go, yeah, I want to go down.
Down, this way.
So you want her to approve like
Yeah,
sponsorship signs?
I would,
Can we
that's,
just
yeah,
put
that's
that
what
in
I
there?
want
Okay.
to
Okay,
not,
On 3, I think this will fix it. If you'll go a comma after county
Which county?
on 3,
Which county?
the first one.
This county
Yeah.
right here.
Or an appropriate agent of the county. Comma.
Would that also cover any event signage as well? That's either hosted by the park or hosted by an outside entity, or do any of those need to fall under something separate other than the sponsorships? Those are primarily the only things that we see put up, but we do put up signage for events to promote them. If somebody else is coming in to host an event, we allow them to post signage for 1 week prior to the event.
Yeah, that would cover that.
Yeah,
that
you would,
covers
I guess
anything
that would be, you would be the appropriate agent of the county to approve that. And I guess if it was, I guess if it was something that she didn't feel comfortable approving, then she could bring here. Or vice versa, if you weren't comfortable with it, then you would have to go and say, can you pull that? We need to approve
Yeah.
that through fiscal court. And I know
As
you're,
long
I
as
know what you're
that's
saying. I mean,
yeah.
if you put a new sign out there that says soccer field's
Yeah.
down the hill,
And I know it's difficult to be in that position, but you're right. That's the other piece of it is I do want to have enough, control, but not that she has to
We're
bring a
micromanaging.
sponsorship. Yeah. If the sponsorship is Regina's or something, no, Regina's is not, but you know what I'm saying? I do want the ability to say no.
I have no clue what you're talking
can
about.
you, I don't know, I'm not familiar. Can you,
Me neither.
I mean, I'm old enough to,
Is that in
Sorry.
Marsh, is that in Marsh County?
no, but I'm just saying.
I think that's covered under.
Mother, if you're watching.
An other ordinance that we have, I think that's
It's
covered.
it was by the castle. You just go to eat at the castle. You see the sign.
You better quit while you're ahead, buddy.
Anyway, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. And, I mean, I think this policy gives the fiscal court the overall authority. So, I mean, this is a good faith attempt to put something in place without getting into tying up somebody's hands, but we also, we just don't have free run throughout the county. But if that language that you put in there, if that
That's good.
does that.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is too, is I did see where there was some discussion out there about the number 2 there, as far as the permitted activities remaining 25 feet from the, I do want the people to understand that that is from the public entrance. It's not that the fiscal court is trying to stop you from having a peaceful protest or to, rally on behalf of a subject. It's just to not block
yes.
entrances into county property.
Right.
It's just as any business would be in the same position. So it is definitely not written to try to stop anything like that. It's just,
Yeah.
we want access to, as people should have.
And that's a great point to bring up. The right to assemble, all right, is not being infringed here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is, so it's a great point to bring up so that people understand. This is an attempt to put something in place that we don't have anything. And this is a basic, I think this is very basic, to put certain things in place that the fiscal court is giving directives to our department heads, like the parks director or the road department or somebody else that would be in a position where they're taking sponsorships or signage. But there is some things that the court is saying, you know what, this is the process that we're gonna
It's
take.
been a gray area for a long time, and the old way just doesn't work anymore, and it's good to get a written policy down.
Yeah. And it is a great point, Monty, because if there are people out there that are, thinking that this section here is to compromise the right to assemble,
Yeah.
that is absolutely far from the truth. Our intent, we embrace the right to assemble.
Yeah, I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at 1E, it says, we've got A, B, C, and D, and then we've got E, and it says any other similarly protected free speech activity. So that's anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that's allowed under the First Amendment, this is.
Right.
I agree. Just wanted that I saw that comment out there, and I just wanted to make sure that people understood this was not, and
Yeah.
two, it was written prior to either the rally or the peaceful protest that we had. This was actually written and given to us several months ago, and we just haven't.
Let's just call
Or
it like
however
it
long.
was. It's because that flag was put on the courthouse lawn, and we went to the judge executive's office as it had always been done, and There were some objections about that, and I can understand that. Like I
Sure.
say, the old way doesn't work anymore. It's good to get a written policy on there, and that way, from here on out, we know what needs to be done.
Correct. And we have had instances where, I mean, I know we drove up to the courthouse and somebody had saturated, the court square with signage. And, it is a public place, but without directives for the public to know that there are certain things that we have to do.
By the way, Monty, it's incognito now, and I know that because 2 weeks ago I found out that Jenny had never had a burger from the castle, so I took her to the
Oh,
castle to get a
okay.
burger.
Oh, that was it. Uh-huh.
What were the
Good to
colors
know.
on that sign? It's purple. What were your campaign colors?
No, blue
Oh,
and green.
okay.
Jeff's was purple.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We know where the Jason Darnold for county attorney
Yeah.
headquarters is now.
That's right.
I move we approve the policy with that change.
Is
Second.
there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go on the new business, item A, pay increase, county clerk personnel. Let's see, Tim. We all know that we had in-depth budget workshops and discussions. Tim, we met with Tim several times, and this was never brought up, but he has given his folks a raise. The only difference is the individual here has to be approved through the court. So this is a raise from the clerk's office, recommended raise, I guess, from the clerk's office, that there's no monies appropriated or budgeted.
So the difference between he gave all of his employees a raise. The difference with this one is it's not reimbursed through his fees. It's the election clerk that he doesn't reimburse for. So when you all approved the budget and the salary schedule, his other deputy clerks weren't included in that because it's part of his maximum deputy hire that gets approved through court. This one was. So this one was set at the rate that she currently is, and so he's asking above and beyond that, which is why both it needs to come through fiscal court because there are budgetary impact on it, but it also needs approval from the state auditor's recommendations.
Are any other county workers getting a raise?
Nope.
Mm-mm. And we have to find somewhere in the budget to pull those dollars.
It's nothing against Dara. Dara does a good job. He's a hell of a worker. But I just cannot vote to give somebody a raise when other county workers aren't getting a raise.
Well, and it puts the court in a unique, I think, in an unfair position. I know I sat down, my staff and I sat down with Tim several times, and there was never any mention of this. So, and it would be retroed back to July 1. And I agree with you, Justin. Dara does great work. And she's not the one that's obviously asking for this raise.
Why is this one employee not reimbursed?
Because it's an election clerk.
Okay.
Yeah, she does all of the filings and so it's just different from his other staff. So when he presents that maximum deputy hire, this person isn't included in that. So it hadn't been previously approved.
And the budget was based on the 1886.
Correct.
So you'd have to amend the budget to do this.
Correct.
And that's another valid point. We would have to amend it or make appropriations.
Yeah, you'd have to make an
from
appropriation
somewhere else.
from another line item within that same budget. But I did talk to our territories representative from the auditor's office, and this is what the recommendation was, because I don't know if we just hadn't caught it in previous years, but that's the one that stood out to me, so that's why I called them and got that recommendation, and that's what they had mentioned. So again, not to single one person out, it's just a different scenario for her compared to the rest of the deputy clerks.
Do we want to table this item? All right.
I'd move we table this, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I will mention if you can, depending on when this does come up, I know he had an effective date of July 1. That could remain in effect if you decide to move forward on this. But, so don't think that can't happen. We've done that in the past where somebody would get a pay increase and it would be retroactive to a certain date.
Okay.
Item B, E911 new hire.
So this would be the third time I think we're trying to approve a new hire for E911. Every time we call and tell the person, hey, you got approved, they decline it. And that not meaning anything to do with our center or the pay. It's just something happens with their other job.
I think their employer offers them more money.
Yeah. So this one is for, and I'm sorry, I don't have the info sheet, but I do have it with me. It's for Corey O'Brien, starting at $13.70 an hour on the 27th.
Who was that?
Corey O'Brien.
From the Olive O'Briens?
I can't verify that. But I know this was one that Sheila and Chris interviewed, I think, last week or the week before.
And that's just updating the court.
Well, they have
We need
to
to
approve it.
Approve it. Is
So
there
moved.
a motion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item C, Sheriff's Annual Settlement for 2019. Y'all should have received this. Are there any questions on the annual settlement?
I move we accept it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item D, payment of the bills.
We paid the bills.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.